You are listening to Middle East Monitor Conversations, bringing you lively discussions with prominent voices from the region and beyond, as we delve deeper into issues shaping the Middle East and North Africa, from politics, the culture, and the arts.
Hello and welcome to MEMO Conversation. I'm Sanja Skov, journalist here at MEMO. Last week I spoke with Bryce Greene, who was invited on to Talk TV, but was kicked off from the interview for refusing to remove his keffiyeh, a scarf worn by Palestinians and pro-Palestine activists. So because you were invited on to Talk TV and they basically kicked you out for not refusing to take the scarf off, I was just thinking, what were you promised when they invited you on that show? Like, what were you promised the interview would be about?
So I had gone on Talk TV earlier this year, about a month or so ago, and the hosts, they, were acting in a similar way. They were accusing me of being a terrorist supporter, a Holocaust denier, et cetera, et cetera. And I, stood my ground. I was like, well, this is obviously stupid, but I think I was able to adequately convey the facts to anyone watching that interview who wasn't a complete, Israel sycophant. And so they asked me to go on again. And I said, well, last time I went on, you guys called me a Holocaust denier and, wouldn't let me speak. Will this be more serious discussion? And the producer said, oh, yes, I'm sorry that happened to you. But, you had a guest host. It was some other British white guy with terrible politics. This time it's James Whale, who I guess he's famous in Britain or something for one reason or another. But I was promised a more serious discussion, and they asked me my top line. My line was just, as Israel's lies and brutality becomes more and more obvious to the world, it's less and less tenable to continue supporting this genocide. And, whatever. But I didn't really expect much because I had, my first time going on, I had never actually looked at their program. I didn't know what they were about, didn't know what their politics were. But the second time, I had a pretty good idea, and I had watched some clips. So even if the producer was going to say, oh, well, it's going to be fine, I didn't really expect that. So I just came in prepared for, Zionist nonsense in a way. And that's exactly what I got. And I think I handled it as best as anyone could.
Yeah, totally agree. Did you know that the keffiyeh would provoke them?
No, I actually didn't expect it. It didn't even cross my mind. I knew that I would say some things that they wouldn't like. But in fact, in previous versions of their show, several times, they've had guests with keffiyehs on and, they have not said anything about it. So I expected, me, just some nobody in America. I wouldn't think that they would care about it. But it seemed to me that was their way of derailing the conversation and trying to get me off as soon as possible.
But why do you think they kicked you off? Like, do you think it was planned or?
I don't know. And I have to view it from a media standpoint, right? It makes for good television when a guest is so awful that they have to be kicked off. And admittedly, that goes for both sides. It made me appear better and more serious to people who support Palestine, and it made them look more serious to the people who supported Israel. And so maybe it was a spur of the moment thing. Maybe it was planned. Maybe they had some more nasty things that they had planned to say to me or whatever. But regardless of what happened, and maybe it was my fake British accent, which, one can call a macroaggression if you really want to, that really set them off the line. But who knows what they were thinking and who knows what they were expecting.
Yeah. I can't tell you either, but I can tell you that we published the video, the clip from the interview on Instagram, and it's been 2 hours, has really a lot of views, and people are calling you a hero. So people
maybe I should get an Instagram so I can join in the conversation.
People are asking for your Instagram handle as well. So yeah, I think they just look like clowns.
Yeah, they appeared to be the most unserious people in the world, but it only appears like that for people who are serious and their audience, and it seems like the entire culture that they embody is deeply unserious, anti-intellectual, anti-fact, and just uh, clownish, cartoonish.
100%. But can I ask you, what is your story with Palestine? When did you start promoting support, solidarity for Palestinians?
So in every leftist education, you learn about the empire. You know, the American empire. You learn about the wars, the invasions of Iraq, Vietnam, Korea, et cetera, et cetera. But looming large throughout the latter half of the 20th century, and this entire 21st century, is the question of Israel and America's unconditional and unwavering support for Israel. And once you look at it and you see what Israel's doing, it becomes pretty easy to fit it in the pattern of broader American imperialism. But unlike other issues, there seems to be more energy devoted to obscuring reality on the question of Israel than there is in anyone else, any other conflict. The fact that there are professors, entire programs, books, documentaries dedicated to telling you that what Israel's doing in Palestine is completely okay and above board, and actually Palestinians really like each other, if Palestinians even exist at all, which they might not. That to me meant that there was something different about this, that there was a powerful apparatus of Israel supporters who were able to manipulate and affect the public sentiment with respect to Israel. And so I took it on myself to learn more and more about the issues, reading the modern history, and also going back to the origins of Zionism to better get a grip for this conflict. And in 2018-19, when I was an undergrad, I helped found Indiana University's Palestine Solidarity Committee, where we put on events and tried to raise awareness about Palestine. I went to my first National Students for Justice in Palestine conference at the end of 2018, and that was a major awakening. Being in a room with so many people who took the issues that I cared about seriously, and even meeting more Palestinians who were directly affected by this issue. And so Israel and Palestine has been a topic of study for me, and certainly a topic of activism for me for the last 5 years. And I came back to Indiana University for grad school in 2022. And, my second year here, some of the Palestine Solidarity people who were still keeping it together after COVID, kind of wiped out everything. But they were still keeping it together. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, this would be very interesting. And then October 7th happened. And something that no one here was expecting for sure. And then that reinvigorated the organizing drive. And so ever since October 7th, I've been working with the Solidarity Committee and the Divestment Coalition to affect change locally, right? Everyone in America and everyone in the world has a responsibility to look at the institutions that they contribute to look at their own role in perpetuating the world's evils. And Indiana University is one of those universities that has direct ties with Israel, study abroad programs. We have an anti-Semitism department that really defines anti-Semitism as anti-Zionism. They have a direct partnership and close communication with Israel on Campus Coalition, which is an explicitly university-aimed Israel lobbying group. And so, to say nothing of the investments of the IU Foundation in companies that have been marked by the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, companies like Caterpillar, like Teva Pharmaceuticals, like Black & Decker, and others. Indiana University is directly complicit in Israel's genocide. And so, trying to mobilize students, we're hoping to push the university to change its behavior, to divest from these genocide and apartheid supporting corporations, to end these partnerships with all of these Israel groups in these study abroad things. I mean, it's incumbent on all of us. This is what you can do at home, and we're under no illusions. We understand that there are limits to what an individual can do here in America especially given our political system. But you have to ask yourself, are you satisfied with seeing limits and then saying that they're too insurmountable and then doing nothing? No, there are always opportunities for action. There are always opportunities for engagement and organizing. And if you want to be an organizer, if you care about what's going on in Gaza and the rest of the world subject to America's empire, then it's incumbent on you to try and seek out those opportunities and organize when you can.
So since October 7th, have you been specifically focusing on something? I saw that you did some articles about Israel's lies, but has this been like a topic for you, or has it been more like the whole thing?
Yeah, it's been a major focus. In fact, I'm currently pursuing a PhD program in informatics where I study, media, digital propaganda, and trust making, trust in institutions. And this war has provided an endless amount of examples and case studies that someone can use to try and elaborate on and illuminate some of these processes that lead people to believe insane things about the world and then act on those insane beliefs. And so, in addition to trying writing about this in sort of a journalistic or analytical way, I'm also trying to bring it into my academic work. But all of that is secondary, of course, to the actual organizing, which I really wish I have been able to would have been able to write more over the last 10 months. But organizing is it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can imagine. But what do you think the problem is? Like now, when you were on Talk TV again, they ask, are you denying the rape cases? Like there's so much evidence pointing, the other way, and it's not the only lie. It's just lie on top of lie that's come from Israel since October. I mean, since always, but specifically what happened in the first weeks after 7th of October. And most of these lies have been debunked. So why do you think people still use it? Like people still use these facts?
Well, it's the nature of the propaganda system that we live in. In our media, and I think this is a Mark Twain quote that I might be butchering, but a lie can travel around the world before the truth has the time to lace up its boots. If you put out a bunch of false statements to the media from sources that people in the media trust and audiences trust, well, then even when that information is debunked later, people won't believe it. Or at the very least, there's a lot smaller chance that even honest people will ever see it. So if you turn on your television in the days after October 7th and you heard all these horrible stories, and then you turned off your television, you're not reading Middle East Monitor, you're not reading Mondo Weiss, you're not reading Electronic Intifada to see what the actual facts are developing and turning out to be. You're not learning about the Hannibal Directive. You're not learning about all of these insane lies that Israel is telling you. You only remember what you saw on CNN. And so then that's going to be the basis for your understanding of the political situation. Well, there's bombs in Gaza. Well, they committed these massive crimes, so you have to bomb them to make sure that they don't do those crimes again. And it's perfectly logical if you have garbage facts, garbage in, garbage out. And the people who make this propaganda understand that better than anyone. It's not a complicated concept. And they utilize and weaponize these tendencies in our media ecosystem.
Thank you. How does it feel living in the US during this time?
It's very strange. Even though like every day people like me, organizers are watching horrors beyond comprehension on their phone screens, on their televisions, the majority of the public doesn't. In America, we're probably one of the most secure nations on the planet. Like no one's going to invade us ever. That's not even an option. So we don't even have the frame of mind for what it's like to be bombed or what it's like to be, even seriously repressed if you in a liberation struggle. I mean, you have parallels with the Black American struggles, Indigenous American struggles, but they pale in comparison to having a complete apartheid system where there are checkpoints that you can't pass, where there are separate roads, where you're liable to be put in a massive open air prison for the remainder of your entire life. Americans can't comprehend that, and so every day when you're walking, to your office, to your university, to your workplace, everyone around you is living in a completely different world than the one that you're inhabiting. Occasionally, people wake up. When the student protest movement started, we set up an encampment at Indiana University. It was quickly swept and met with military levels of force. There were choppers, there were drones in the sky, police had assault weapons, grenade launchers, tear gas, and there was even famously a sniper on the roof that was actually radioing about me specifically. They had me in their crosshairs. We got the police audio from that later. But when that happened, some people woke up. Some people were saying, hey, this violence, I'm seeing a taste of it, a small taste of it at home. And that's concerning. But, and I keep stressing this to anyone, what we're facing, what the students face, even after, they arrested 55 of us, including me, even after they, assaulted us at the camp twice, even after that, it's nothing compared to what other people organizing against fascism have to go to. It's nothing compared to what a Palestinian who would like to demonstrate has to fear. And so in America, we have to utilize this sense of security. We have a lot more range of action that we can take without risking our life and limb. And so it's our responsibility to explore that action and to ensure that we keep fighting for what we can, where we can.
Interesting, with a sniper on the roof. Like, what were they thinking you were going to do?
I'm not sure. Well, they identified me as the, quote, main actor and a, quote, instigator and a, quote, target. And later on, in fact, last week, the police body cam footage was released where the police had actually targeted me. They said, we go in, we get Black Afro guy, and then they had some like weird orders that were changing around. But it was very obvious that they were targeting me and another organizer for our role in being out front and being loud and shouting "Free Palestine" too loudly. I guess that's a national security risk.
Right. Are you still doing the protests?
Yes, the camp is still up. This is day number, I think we're hovering around 80. We're still up. We put back after the police came and swept each time. I was banned from campus for 5 years, even though I wasn't doing anything violent or dangerous. But we mobilized around that and we managed to get that ban reversed. The county prosecutor said they weren't going to prosecute the cases of the arrests because they were, quote, constitutionally dubious. And so we are still working on fighting repression from the university. They dug up events that happened in January and are now charging people with student conduct violations over them, just as an intimidation tactic to make us a little bit more scared to organize, make us more scared to speak out against our university's role in genocide. But it ain't working. We're still out here and we still plan on fighting strong in the fall.
Thanks for tuning into MEMO Conversation. If you missed this one or want to catch up with previous ones, you can go to our website. Please do tune in next time for more MEMO Conversation.
This was Middle East Monitor Conversations, brought to you by the Middle East Monitor in London.